Catherine, that's all. Thank you.
A little hard to follow a talk on sex therapy. Can you hear me okay? I am also a little speaker like Simon. Okay. So I just wanted to thank Lee and IPD for inviting me here to speak. I'm a clinical psychologist in private practice with a specialty in group therapy. So I'm here to speak with you about group therapy today. It seems like group therapy, the timing is just right. Because we're looking to kind of cast a broader net and reach a broader group of people, moving from individual therapy to group therapy seems like kind of a nice fit for this time in this kind of technologically virtual world. Not that I don't do a lot of video therapy. Sometimes I'll include individuals in my groups on video, but that's another thing. But it is, a group is reaching a larger breadth of people. And as far as my identity, as Javier pointed out, it's important to me to work deeply. And I think as psychologists, we have a unique training as working with character psychopathology. So my groups are primarily long-term analytic groups. So this seems like a niche that kind of fits us and also fits the time. So I'll talk briefly about issues around insurance. Most insurance companies, many insurance companies cover group therapy, but the rates vary considerably. And group therapy, in contrast to individual treatment, tends to be more affordable, and patients may be more likely to pay out of pocket. Most of my patients, however, participate in both individual and group treatment. I don't prescribe a model where group therapy serves as a substitute for individual treatment. As we all probably know, there are benefits to both. My patients often require experience with individual treatment before they can benefit from the practice groups that I facilitate. There is certainly a market for structured and time-limited groups. And I think there's a need related to, some people don't want to go into individual work to start their psychotherapy work. There's something safe about a large group. The structured groups certainly have an important market. There is certainly a market, but regardless of the timing of group versus individual, most of you are aware that the research demonstrates that group treatment is as beneficial as individual treatment, if not more so in some cases. And there is some cost-saving benefits. As I mentioned, group tends to be slightly less expensive than individual treatment. There's also the possibility of working with an individual and the patient paying out of pocket for the group therapist. In preparing for this talk, I surveyed some group therapists as to what they valued about group psychotherapy, training, and leadership. I'd like to read you one of the more creative responses. Let me backtrack a minute. One common theme was that group therapy facilitation is a lot of fun, and it's also always challenging. So I'd like to read you one response from a well-established group therapist who runs several process groups and only accepts private pay. He says, "I'm a gardener in my garden as well as in my group therapy room. In my home garden, in my therapy office, I pay special attention to the needs of my individual plants. How much water do they need? How much fertilizer? Is the soil healthy? How much light do they need? Will the hardier plants cast shadows on the more delicate plants? Are the robust plants as hardy as they appear? And are the delicate ones as fragile? The more I understand my plants, both individually and in relation to one another, as well as in relationship to me and the entire landscape, the more beautiful and rewarding the garden is." I use this to illustrate the value of group as well as the importance of slowing down. I think in this environment, there is a lot of pressure to reach a lot of people, to be online. But this is a reminder of kind of the value of working slowly and being with our patients, kind of being in the dirt with them. Some of the other responses I received were around themes of collaboration, community, and role versatility. As a group therapist working with individual therapists, there are many opportunities for collaboration. Instead of being a sole practitioner in private practice, the individual and group therapist can create a team. And we can add a psychiatrist to that as well in many cases. But working with another very clinically minded person can be really, really valuable for me. I consult with individual therapists anywhere from multiple times per week to every few months. And cultivating these relationships is one way to develop a referral stream for group patients. Regarding community, we study group treatment within groups. Training for group work happens mostly in groups. This creates many opportunities for support and consultation. And then there's role versatility. It's about the ability to move between individual work and group modalities, as well as a professional and a personal identity. Being in group requires a certain spontaneity. And as I mentioned, a lot of the group work is experiential. There's just, through the training as a group therapist, there seems to be more of an integration of all aspects of the clinician as a person and a professional, and then possibly all other identities. So I'm going to talk a little bit about training. I'd like to provide a sketch of training involved, and it's similar actually to sex therapy training. So to become a group therapist, Irvin Yalom points out that the training must be well organized and involve multiple components. For example, he suggests a model of training that incorporates observation of an experienced group therapist, a personal group experience, group therapy supervision, didactics, and individual psychotherapeutic work. The American Group Psychotherapy Association has established training standards for group therapy certification. That's the Certified Group Psychotherapist, CGP. This includes a minimum of 12 hours of didactic training, 300 hours of group therapy leadership, and 75 hours of group therapy supervision with a group therapist who has met the standards of certification. This training is a model with supervision in psychotherapy, but also with couples therapy and with psychoanalysis. I created a list of group therapy programs in the area that should be on the table. I'm at the Center for Modern Group Psychoanalysis. I think it's important probably to start within one of those established programs, but then there's also opportunities to create an individualized curriculum. We are very fortunate to have a number of group therapists in New York City, and upstate who are available to work with, to create kind of an independent program, including therapy, reading programs, training programs, supervision, and sometimes one-on-one supervision. So what are some of the barriers to running groups in private practice? When other psychologists are not actively running groups and they learn that I facilitate groups in private practice, they often ask questions about how to begin a group. Isn't it a lot of work to get a group going? How do you manage the scheduling? My patients often decline referrals to group treatment. It creates anxiety in me as a clinician as well as a patient to think about working outside of our one-on-one relationship. How do I talk to patients about groups? It takes time and energy to birth a group. I was impatient in this process earlier on, and certainly made some mistakes putting patients in group treatment too early. Most clinicians I know begin process groups by selecting patients from their individual patient caseload. I started my first group with 2 people. This was discouraged by by some people. Actually, my mentor encouraged it. they say 2 people is a couple, it's not a group. Well, after a few weeks, I added my third, and then I continued to add people. So now I have 2 groups of 6, and I'm starting another group this winter. How do you pick a day? How do you pick a day? How do you pick a time? I find that a lot of group therapists keep trying to shift their time for their first group to find just the right time where they get the most patients. I started my first group at 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning that meets weekly for 90 minutes. I chose this time because I work best in the morning. My mind is the sharpest. So I give you this example. It's not based on marketing, and really to consider what you need and how you work best. I think there's a pull to kind of comply with marketers or all these new ideas about how to grow our practices. But then to remember, and there's certainly real advantages to using those strategies, but to remember to take care of ourselves and work in a way that suits us best. Okay, that's going over. Okay, so I'll just say something a little bit about the process of exploring and preparing patients for group treatment and how this can add to the individual work. Sometimes I'll see a patient once and they're ready for group. Sometimes it will be years before they're ready for group. And the dialogue continues throughout those years. Okay. So if you're considering group, if you're considering group therapy training, I'm happy to speak further with anyone who's interested. My link to my website is on that list of programs. And I guess we'll wrap it up there.